How do everybody? So I'm going to do a bit of a good news story today for a change. It is nice to hear about successes, and we've got quite the common sense success story here, which makes a change, especially for the British courts. I'm very surprised that they've ruled in this way, but it's very positive, and I think signals a little bit on which way the institutions at least are wanting the country to go. But this is to do with the Michaelis High School in London. Which is headed by a woman by the name of, I think it's Catherine Birbalsingh. She gets called Britain's strictest head teacher. I did do a couple of stories on this, on where there was a Muslim pupil who can't be named for legal reasons, was taking the school to court about praying at the school. Now, the school has had a very strict policy on praying, and this is before the pupil went there. They would have been very aware of this. And I did ask the questions at the time on, is this a form of subversion that we're seeing? And I believe it was an attempt at subverting the school. Now it is quite, I do think it's quite a point of interest that the school is approximately 50% of the pupils are Muslims there. That is, it wasn't that when the school first opened. So I do feel that this was a bit of a power move by a group who see themselves as being the significant majority of all pupils there and trying to claim the school as their own, so to speak. In the same way as how we see people praying in the streets, I do think that is a psychological power move of people doing that. But anyway, let's get on with the story. So this is off the BBC website. I'll put the link below. So if you want to read, I'm not going to go through the full thing, just the key points really. But if you want to read it yourself, obviously the link will be there for you to read it. So anyway, a Muslim student at a school in London has lost a High Court challenge against its ban on prayer rituals. Now, the High Court is obviously the highest court in England, but this could still go to the Supreme Court, hypothetically. Whether or not it will do, though, is another question. Michaela School in Wembley was taken to court by the girl over the policy which she argued was discriminatory. If I remember correctly as well, I do believe that the girl had been involved in a disciplinary at the school, and she threatened to stab another pupil. I don't think she brought a knife into school, but I think she threatened to stab another pupil, so I think she's got suspended. And at the time as well, the school was having a lot of problems with Muslim children being intimidated by other Muslim children. So children who weren't praying were getting coerced into praying, and same with kids who were involved in like music and engaging in what would be considered haram activities. Those children were being I don't know if it was peer pressured or intimidated or what. He didn't. I can't remember properly. I don't think any of the articles went into it too deeply. That was left quite vague. But there was quite a lot of problems happening at the school at the time. This is part of the reason why they have the prayer ban, not specifically for Muslims. This is for all pupils. So basically, no children can get singled out in any way, shape, or form for peer pressure reasons. The Dunfaith State Secondary School previously told the High Court that allowing prayer rituals risked undermining inclusion among pupils. The Free Schools founder and head teacher, Catherine Birbalsingh, said the ruling was a victory for all schools. It absolutely is. Now, so as well that I mentioned in my previous videos was, so obviously people were saying, but Muslims have to pray 5 times a day. Well, that is true. According to the religious doctrine, they have to pray 5 times every single day. But they can do what I think, if I remember rightly, was called, I think it was rakats, which is basically doing prayers for ones that you've missed. I did look into it at the time. I can't remember exactly what the word was. But basically, so for example, if you're on an aeroplane, you can't pray at that time, or the idea that when the Quran was first created was you could have people involved in various, farming activities or whatever way. You can't physically stop, or you're maybe in a fight with other people, that they might be on a military campaign. So you can't necessarily always stop to pray when you want to, but you can do your prayers at a later time of the day. So that is baked into the religion itself. And I believe it's Kuwait at the time I found out. They do not let any of their pupils from any age, and this includes going through university, they are not allowed to pray when they are studying during the day. They have to do all of their prayer in their own private time at home. Well, not wherever, not necessarily home, but they are not allowed during the educational time period of the day. They are not allowed to pray. And nobody has a problem with that in that country at all. In an 83-page written judgment dismissing the student's case, Mr. Justice Linden said the claimant, at the very least, impliedly accepted that she enrolled at the school, that she would be subject to restrictions on her ability to manifest her religion. Absolutely. This is somebody having to take accountability for the decisions that they've made. Fully agree with that. And up until recently, there's been far too much pandering to people when they've agreed to do something. They don't like what they've agreed to, and then they want it all changing, and then the courts get involved and force things to get changed. It's wrong. People need to start being held accountable for their own decisions. About half the schools, roughly 700 pupils, are Muslim, the court previously heard. Yeah, there we go. Students are expected to adhere to strict rules, including focusing on teachers extensively during lessons and remaining silent in corridors, as well as observing restrictions on uniform. The school is rated as outstanding by Ofsted. Now, people might think it's quite tight that they're not allowed to talk when they're going around the corridors, but the idea behind it, and I kind of do agree with this, is if kids are playing and fighting and joking and jostling about in the corridors, when they're getting into a classroom, their energy levels are through the roof, and the teachers can spend a quarter of the lesson time trying to calm the kids down. Sometimes, I mean, when I was at school, some kids just never calmed down. You know, my education was trashed because of Tony Blair's approach to education. No Child Left Behind and all that BS. It was absolute just crazy when I was at school. It was only like a handful of kids who ruined it, but it ruined it for all the other kids. You know, so anybody, it's another story for another time. In March 2023, up to 30 students began praying in the school's yard using blazers to kneel on the High Court herd. Pupils are not allowed to gather in groups of more than 4, including the schoolyard. See, it's just a pure power move, that. Absolute power move. This is what happened. I mean, my mum and dad used to have a B&B, and they never ever accepted stag and hen parties. And the idea behind it was because stag and hen parties are so large, they end up forming the majority of the hotel, and it creates like a subconscious psychological mindset in people where they realise that they are the larger group and they are in charge. And that's how, you know, these stag and hen parties where they start trashing hotels because they just get out, they feed off each other's energy and get out of control. And I think in a sort of comparable way, that's what started happening at the school, because these pupils see themselves as the majority, the significant minority, so to speak, or necessarily almost an overwhelming majority. They see that they are able to control and take over that environment. I'm not saying that they're doing that consciously, but I do think that is definitely a subconscious thing that's happened here. The school introduced the ban in the same month due to concerns about a culture shift towards segregation between religious groups and intimidation within the group of Muslim pupils, the court was told. Yeah, that's what I was explaining to you before, like about the music and I think even art and stuff, like painting and stuff like that. There is no legal requirement for schools to allow pupils a time or a place to pray. There you go. So this should have just been thrown. It shouldn't have even been accepted in court then. It should have been thrown out immediately. This judgment supports the right of individual schools, head teachers and school governors to make decisions about what is best for their own pupils. Some schools always set aside space for Muslim pupils to pray, others do not, but there is no overriding a legal obligation to do so. The ruling has implications for every state-funded non-religious school in England. Fantastic. Miss Birbalsingh, a former governor, social mobility czar, said in a statement on X, formerly Twitter, that a school should be free to do what is right for the pupils it serves. Absolutely agree. I'm going to leave that story there. About halfway through that. Like I say, if you want to read it yourself, please do. But yeah, I fully agree with her. You know, it's not for... if you don't like the way that the school teaches, send your kids somewhere else. It's that simple. If you want your kids to pray 5 times a day, send them to an Islamic faith school. It's that simple. Stop trying to change the education that everybody else wants. I'm going to leave it at that. I just thought it'd be a nice update. I'll put the link in for my previous stories as well, my previous videos related to that article. So if you're interested, you can have a listen to them and make your own mind up. Anyway, thank you very much. Take care. Goodbye.